Oh man, a lot has happened between several weeks ago and now. We had the Lightfall showcase, which was kind of cool. Doesn't look like it belongs in this game, but I'll digress. We had the Fortnite and Destiny crossover. Somehow, Fortnite got Javelin 24/7 before Destiny 2 did, and we got a lot more insight and info on the future of Destiny in the coming half year. But what I want to mainly talk about is PvP and the matchmaking within. At the start of this season, they introduced loose skill-based matchmaking, and as I predicted for myself in my last video, it's terrible. This matchmaking does not feel very loose to me, in my honest opinion. The desync and connection discrepancies with many of the players in the lobbies is so apparent that it's honestly triggering my PTSD from Warmind and Forsaken competitive playlists. The obscene amount of lag I dealt with was abysmal. If you are in the middle of the bell curve on the skill spectrum, I imagine your control experience is more or less the same, with the difference being that, I guess that you don't see like people dropping 50 or 40 bombs anymore. You don't see like those huge, like noticeable outliers in your lobbies. In my video long ago, I was talking about the common misconceptions I see about skill-based matchmaking. I mentioned that I don't really mind playing high-level competition, but it needs to be in a meaningful context like 4v4 on maps that are suitable for high-level play, not 6v6 on Dysfunction in the other 3 or 4 largest maps in the game heavily weighted in the rotation. I feel like people aren't really considering the problematic map rotation, which factors into the uprise of quitting. I wouldn't count out the possibilities of quitters leaving due to seasonal KD illusion that players want to maintain. But to sum it up, long queue times for my skill bracket to play on Dysfunction against players across the planet consistently. For all I know, it could very well be loose like SBMM, but I don't know because, the problem in my end of the skill bracket is that there are never enough players in North America, no matter what time of the day I decide to queue control, at any given time at the extreme high end of the bracket. Doesn't really matter what time I play. There's someone in Europe, there's someone in China, there's someone like in the deep ends of South America. You know what I mean? There just never seems to be enough people in North America. But I think incentive is also very important too, man. If I'm having tournament level games, I deserve tournament level rewards. I feel the same way with Flawless Pool and Trials. I don't think it's that much of an ask. This idea that I'm having tougher matches for the same rewards needs to be discontinued, because it's lame. Word on the street is that Bungie is testing their matchmaking prototypes for an upcoming comp rework in the near future. I personally think they are taking a gamble on trying to make the casual extrinsic players enjoy PvP more instead of them just playing PvP for bounties and pinnacles. It's a noble goal that, if successful, could prove beneficial for the PvP population and landscape overall, but I personally think it's very unlikely. They've tried these matchmaking parameters multiple times in the past, and you can't just, I don't know, the past has shown that you can't really turn a PvP hater into a PvP lover. So this begs the question of why PvP is being catered to a demographic that's not loyal to it. I'm sorry, but that is what it is. You're not loyal to PvP if you're playing it for pinnacles and bounties. You're an extrinsic player. You hate PvP. You're just doing it because you're a checklist player. Right? But back to it. They had nerfed sliding by lowering your stability of your weapon and almost doubling your flinch intake, which is still terrible, by the way. The stability, the flinch changes did nothing. Not noticeable. They nerfed aerial combat as a whole, and over time they have just been introducing, or pushing this philosophy of build crafting that just makes the easiest things to pilot the strongest options. All these things to nerf good players and artificially compress the skill gap just for them to bring back skill-based matchmaking anyways. So they at least owe us, the removal of the slide nerf. I think they're doubling down on the aerial effectiveness system. I don't see that going anywhere. But they at least owe us the slide nerf removal for primaries, or just in general, because it's garbage. The players that it's oppressive against that I don't even match. When one considers everything I just mentioned, is it unreasonable to assume that extrinsically motivated players get their way? The same demographic of players who brought the boogeyman of pub stompers and sweats onto themselves when many of them essentially complained competitive out the game where the sweats and strong players lived. While there is no doubt more players are enjoying Crucible in this new environment, I also see a lot of people champion for skill-based matchmaking out of spite and malice of good PvP players, and that's just weird. I hear some people say some shit along the lines of, "Oh, now you get to see what us casuals and non-PvP mains have been dealing with for years. Suck it, ha ha ha." Like, if that's how you think, you're just a freak, and that's just weird. I'm sorry. If that is honestly how you think, you need therapy. A lot of players in the casual demographic think they have this adversity that cannot be overcome or beaten. Like, it's not on me that you chose to settle for mediocrity and serve as a punching bag for PvP creators to punch around. You can choose not to be terrible. I can't choose where my opponents are from in the world because there aren't enough high-level players at any given time in North America to fill my high-skill bracket lobbies, so the connections are adequate. That's the difference. I can't decide, who I get to play against in North America that's high skill for good connections. You can decide not to be bad. I have never been a part of a gaming community that frowns so heavily upon strong players. It's so odd how much hate strong players get, but when it comes to them trials raffles and comp raffles, y'all jokers are so quick to skin your fingers trying to get carried. As I also said in one of my previous videos, I just find it funny, like people try to ostracize players like me about not wanting to play against opponents or players of my caliber when we literally already have to go out of our way to play against good competition that's out the realm, like, that you're not really gonna find in the realm of, like, regular matchmaking. We already gotta go out of our way to play private matches and scrims and customs and shit. In order to get better, we have to get clapped playing against competition that we struggle against. You don't just get better by being a zombie. You gotta put in the time and understand the interactions and nuances this game has to offer. That's why I generally cringe at the idea that skill-based matchmaking will help below average to average players improve at a solid rate. For reference, the KD of an average player in Destiny 2 as of now is roughly like 0.96 or 0.97. It doesn't even scratch neutral. Or just barely, right? This isn't to assume that everyone who enjoys a skill-based matchmaking environment is not playing to get better a lot of the time. And, people just want to feel like they can compete and contribute or play against people who are like them, very laid back and casual. I have nothing against that at all. In fact, I have encouraged outlier protection for a while in the social PvP playlist. But this idea that players are improving at a necessary rate in PvP under these matchmaking environments is unbelievable to me, because you only know the competition the game is giving you. Many players are under the illusion that they are getting better when they are really not. Playing in lobbies that don't punish you heavily enough for bad habits and mistakes will only reinforce those bad habits and mistakes. It's like the Striker Titans with Juggernaut shields running in and shotgunning everyone and like dropping 20 or 30 with a good KD, thinking that what they're doing is good because the players in their lobbies aren't capable of punishing that playstyle, right? One could notice this back when Trials of Osiris made a return. The people that claimed they were improving in a skill-based matchmaking environment literally got smoked in Trials because they were finally exposed to the competition the matchmaking system was hiding from them. In a connection-based matchmaking environment, a lot of players claim that they were matching top 1% players like all the time in every game, and that's just untrue, statistically and mathematically speaking. There aren't enough of them present in the player base as a whole, first of all, and second, they aren't always playing Control or 6v6. Most good players dread 6v6 actually, and they would rather spend most of their time in 3s or doing customs instead. Bungie talked about the increase of quitting from 8% to 12%, and really only talked about the symptoms rather than the cause of why people are leaving games. I mean, look at the average map rotation in PvP. Nobody wants to play on these maps that are unfavorable for high-level play. I back out the moment I notice I'm flying into the throne world into dysfunction, no matter what. People could also quit because the connection quality overall is abysmal. Why should I stay in a lobby where an opponent is running into a wall only to Thanos snap me out of existence from the middle of nowhere when on my screen he's running into a wall just for me to die? What about the pre-made teams of 5 or 6? I'm interested in what quitter protection is because there is already Valor Streak protection if you're backfilling into a lobby with missing players. Quitter protection and quitter penalties are two different things in concept, so I'm curious to see what they do. In conclusion, I'm hoping we get some hard data from Bungie themselves, or some programming wizard could pull off the API to see if the gamble worked out in Bungie's favor, where there is an increase in PvP population of players who were previously only playing Crucible for their pinnacles and bounties. A lot of people were giving players like me flag for assuming that the loose SBMM was going to be bad for me, but at the same time, I don't have to eat shit to know it tastes bad, so there's some food for thought. If Bungie accomplishes their outlined goals and PvP overall is better for most players, then I guess I'll just have to eat shit if it means the greater good can prosper. It's not like Destiny is really meant for dedicated players anymore anyways. A lot of changes they've been making in the PvP landscape, and just in the general landscape of Destiny as a whole for the last 2 years, are actively trying to push away dedicated players anyways. So maybe I'm not the target demographic that they want playing. Maybe it's not meant for me to play the game as much as I would like. But I digress. Anyways, well, let me know what y'all think. Let me know if your PvP experience has drastically improved with this change. Does it feel more or less the same, or has it gotten worse? Sound off in the comments and I will interact with them whenever I can. If you made it to the end, thanks for listening to my little rant or whatever, and later.